Hello everyone, it's Andrew from PokePhenomenal, and today I'm back to play through another Monolocke challenge in Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. I hope you're hydrated. No, seriously, drink some water if you haven't yet today. I'll wait, because this time we're taking on a water Monolocke of Pokemon Fire Red. If you're wondering what a Monolocke is, I'll flash the rule set on the screen so you can give it a read. If you're a little newer to the challenge and also don't know what a Nuzlocke is, I'd recommend you take a look in the description for our full rule set. But to make it simple, these are the rules. We can only catch the first Pokemon we encounter in any given area. We have to give it a nickname. If it faints, we can no longer use it. And because it's a water Monolocke, we can only use water types. You might also be wondering why I've chosen to play Fire Red and not Leaf Green for this run, and the reason for that is simple. A water Monolocke of these games can be incredibly easy, but if we pick Fire Red, we get rid of two particular version exclusive powerhouses, and make the run more difficult. And being the glutton for punishment that I am, that entices me. But that's about all I have for the intro, so if you're all ready, follow me and let's dive in. We start the run by choosing our avatar and naming her River, while also creatively choosing to name her rival Bank. As this is a water Monolocke, we'll of course be picking Squirtle to kick things off, and we name our little buddy Nile in the hopes that he can reach the glory and ubiquity of his namesake. After tackling our way through the first rival fight, we next head through Route 1 and into Viridian City, where we quickly grab Oak's parcel and return it to him in exchange for our first Pokeballs. Although it's nice of him to give these to us, they don't mean much at this point, given we can't even get any wild encounters in this run until after the second gym. After dealing with the drunk man in Viridian City, we head through the forest, fight the single mandatory trainer, and within minutes make it up to Pewter City. For the water Monolocke, there's nothing we need to do here, and so after training Nile up to the level cap, we immediately head into the gym to face off against Brock. Brock is an interesting gym leader in that he's either an incredible challenge or a walk in the park, and this time it's the latter, with only 2 water guns sealing the deal and earning us the Boulder Badge. Sorry Brock, but I'm sure you'll get us next time. With Brock out of the way, we stock up on antidotes and other supplies, get our running shoes, and then head toward Mount Moon, where our second encounter awaits. In the Route 4 Pokemon Center, we're able to buy a Magikarp who we name Amazon from this seedy salesman. Doing this, I also realized that because we picked Leaf as our avatar, he calls us Sweetie Pie, which is just yuck. Also, now that we have Magikarp, I think this is a good time for me to clarify my Gyarados ruling for this particular run. As most of you probably know, Gyarados is above and beyond one of the best encounters in any Nuzlocke, with incredible bulk and attack power on top of a great moveset. In most cases, Gyarados can trivialize a run, which is why a lot of people choose to ban it from hardcore Nuzlockes. But for this run, I'm going to allow it, at least for the beginning. If we didn't use Gyarados, we would be left with only Wartortle for the first 3 gyms, which would make a moderately difficult challenge close to impossible. While I think it could be fun to figure out a strategy to beat the first 3 gyms with only a Wartortle, the amount of time it would take to do so isn't really worth it for this video, and so I've decided to let myself use a Gyarados until we've beaten Erica, which is also the portion of the game where its power is offset by our limited encounter options. I hope you guys are cool with that, but if you're not, well, you're just gonna have to take it up with Amazon. With Amazon chilling on the team, we travel through Mount Moon, being careful not to overlevel Nile as we do so. After fighting the Fossil Maniac, we also carefully pick up the Helix Fossil, which will someday become our encounter for Mount Moon. Outside of Mount Moon, we also equip Nile with Mega Kick, which will be an incredible asset to this run and very important. After that, we train up, and we're ready to take on the Cerulean City Gym. Before starting the fight, we quickly give Amazon a Person Berry to guard against confusion, and then kick it off. Gyarados is a tank, and while Staryu hits a few water pulses, they hardly make a dent as we wear away its HP with Tackle. Misty thankfully burns her Super Potion on the Staryu, and although we get unlucky with 2 self-hits on Confusion while the Staryu heals with Recover, a final critical hit is enough to take the Staryu out. Misty's Starmie is a little scarier with how much damage Swift can do, and although Bite takes it down to the red, we have to switch over to Nile, who lands a nice Mega Kick to finish off the fight and secure our Cascade Badge. Finished with Misty, we next face off against our rival in front of Nugget Bridge. The encounter starts off fine, and Amazon is able to handle most of Bank's team without difficulty, but once the Bulbasaur comes out, a combination of Leech Seed and Sleep Powder get Amazon dangerously close to fainting. We're forced to bring Niall in, who finishes the fight off with 2 clutch Mega Kicks. Thankfully, we beat Banks this time, but I want you to remember how scary the Bulbasaur was here. That knowledge will be important soon. Making our way through the Nugget Bridge and Route 25, we try to help Bill with his issues. I accidentally hit no the first time here, which is when I saw that he also refers to us specifically with gendered language, and I'm starting to wonder how deep this well goes. That aside, after finishing with Bill, we beat the Rocky Grunt in Cerulean and head to Vermilion City, where we waste little time before boarding the SS Anne. If we wanted, we could pick up the Old Rod here, but we decide not to do so just yet, and instead get on the ship and make our way up to the rival fight. We start off the fight with Niall, hitting a crit Mega Kick on the Pidgeotto and taking it out in 1, which is a great start. After Banks sends out his Ivysaur, we switch into Gyarados. Ivysaur misses its Poison Powder, which is actually unfortunate because we're now open to getting hit with Sleep Powder, which the Ivysaur hits, followed up by a Leech Seed. Amazon does get an early wake up, but Leech Seed helps the Ivysaur to tank hits, and we don't do as much damage as we'd like. The Ivysaur eventually hits us with a Poison Powder, at which point Amazon's health drops dangerously low, and we're forced to switch because we need both of our party members alive for our fight with Surge. Luckily, we hit a Mega Kick with Niall, but tanking those Vine Whips from Ivysaur has brought us really low on health, and we're in a bad place. The rival sends in his Raticate, and all we can really hope for is a critical Mega Kick, which Niall miraculously hits, taking it out. His Kadabra is last, and although we pray that we'll be fast enough to take it out with Niall, the Kadabra gets the KO first. We switch into Gyarados, who, under other circumstances, might have done it, but with the lingering effect of Ivysaur's poison, Amazon faints as well, ending our first attempt in failure. With run number 1 ending up a bust, I'm a little upset given we didn't even get to test out the more dangerous fight with Surge and pick up any data before wiping, but beyond that, a single wipe isn't enough to faze me, and we jump straight into the next one, ready to try again. Since we wiped so early in the run, I go with the same names for us and our rival, and also keep the river naming theme, picking up Misty the Squirtle, and hoping that our luck in getting a female starter will carry into the rest of the run. The early game of our second attempt plays out the same as the first, and we beat Brock with no trouble. After picking up Youngtsy the Magikarp outside of Mount Moon, we head to Misty, where we get our first stroke of luck and hit all of our Mega Kicks. Finishing up our business on the Nugget Bridge and Route 25, we waste as little time as we possibly can before boarding the SS Anne a second time, with our eyes set on revenge. This time, we employ a strategy of starting with Gyarados, hoping that we'll meet the Ivysaur in a better position than last time. We send Youngtsy out, hoping to deal with the Pidgeotto quickly, and hit it with a double bite. But when the Gyarados gets an accuracy drop, I decide to switch out and finish the Pidgeotto with Misty, since we want Youngtsy to be at full power just in case. Misty tanks 2 quick attacks, and finishes the Pidgeotto off with Water Gun. Banks sends in the Ivysaur, and we decide to risk a Mega Kick, which hits and does a lot of damage. Luckily, Ivysaur and Misty whiff Sleep Powder and Mega Kick respectively, and after tanking a Vine Whip, we're able to take Ivysaur out with another kick. Following this, both the Raticate and Kadabra go down to Youngtsy, and we finish our revenge quest and move on to the next, more terrifying battle with Surge. For this one, it's time to enter the strategy corner. This is one of, if not the most, difficult fights in this monologue, and as such, I took a good amount of time to work through my strategy before actually facing Surge. While we're here in the strategy corner, I want to go over a few key concepts and choices that will hopefully help us get through the battle alive. First up is level scumming. This is a concept that, once described, will probably be familiar to you, or at least make sense, although I have no idea how often this term is used in the community. It's just what my friends and I call it. In a hardcore Nuzlocke, the rules stipulate that you have to enter a boss fight with your Pokemon leveled no higher than your opponent's ace. That's the extent of the rule. Thankfully, the rule doesn't stipulate that you can't get your Pokemon as close to leveling up as possible before entering that boss fight, which will allow your Pokemon to get a buff mid-battle upon beating any of the boss's Pokemon. This process is what we call level scumming, and it's going to be vitally important to help us get through the Surge fight. Next, attract strats. This strategy is one we've already seen me employ in my normal monologue of the game, but in short it revolves around using the readily available attract TMs to make it more difficult for our opponent to hit us. We lucked out with Misty being a girl, and with a little more luck, attract will allow her to move on unscathed from the fight with Surge's Raichu. We've already picked up the pre-Celadon attract TM from Route 24, so that will be going straight into Misty's arsenal. Third is this Citrus Berry found on Route 6. Citrus berries are hard to come by, but luckily one of them is positioned here, right before Vermilion City. Using this, we'll hopefully be able to ensure that Yangtze survives long enough to pave the way for Misty's victory. This part of the strategy exists only to prolong Yangtze's life, and unfortunately we'll be going in with the understanding that she's not going to be making it out, and that we'll be adding another Magikarp to the team after the gym has been beaten. It's what has to be done. So, this is our strategy. All that's left is for us to see how it plays out. The Voltorb starts with Screech, which I don't understand, but am grateful for. We continue to bite at the Voltorb while tanking a Sonic Boom, and eventually we're able to bring its health down to the red. Surge then burns his Super Potion, and we keep up the assault, tanking a Shock Wave that procs us to eat our Citrus Berry to gain health. The Citrus Berry proves its worth immediately here, as we have enough health to tank another Shock Wave and then take the Voltorb out. It's here that level scumming comes through, getting us to level 25 so that we can learn Dragon Rage. This move is one of the reasons Gyarados is so busted in the early game, but it's going to be essential to us here as it lets us take the Pikachu out in one hit. Finally, the Raichu comes out, and with its speed finally ends Yangtze's reign of terror. But she's done what she needs to, paving the way for her comrade Misty. Misty comes in, and we immediately go for Attract, which we're lucky enough to hit despite the Raichu's first double team. With our foe now in love, we have no other option but to leave our lives to fate, as we attempt to hit our low accuracy Mega Kicks through a double team. It's here that we see Misty's luck didn't end with being a girl, as we hit our first Mega Kick, avoid damage due to the Raichu being in love, and then hit our second Mega Kick through boosted evasiveness, all while getting a good damage range that allows us to finish off our fight with Surge. Surge's battle prowess was really no joke, and this was incredibly scary. I don't know what the chances are for the Voltorb to use Screech turn 1, but if it weren't for that, I think this fight would have been much more difficult to pull off. So I want to thank Surge for getting a little too lost in the sauce there. With that fight out of the way, we can now breathe just a little easier. In order to recoup our loss, we catch a new Magikarp in Vermilion, who will replace Yangtze through our fight with Erica. We name her Yellow, in honor of her predecessor. After picking up some items on Route 11, we head north to Cerulean City so we can get our bike, and then make our way to Rock Tunnel. With our two beefy water types, Rock Tunnel isn't really an issue, and we race through it quickly so as to get closer to a point in the game where we can actually get some new encounters. Once through, we quickly jet over to Celadon while stopping to pick up some berries on the way. In Celadon itself, we gratefully receive some tea from this old woman, and then beeline it to the rooftop to pick up Thames, the next member of our team. Thanks to Fire Red and Leaf Green allowing us to purchase evolution stones, we're able to immediately evolve him into a Vaporeon, along with picking up some TMs and other items in the department store. We also quickly equip Thames with some more applicable moves, using the Water Pulse TM from Misty, and also giving him Attract, so that we have a last-ditch plan regardless of our opponent. In a stroke of luck, the Meowth we've been keeping around for Cut also picked up a Cherry Berry around this point, and I decided to allow it, equipping it to Thames just in case he sees any action in the upcoming gym battle. While in the berry pouch, we also give Missy an Oran Berry, and with that are ready for our fight with Erica. This is Yellow's last outing, so we start with her, especially given she'll be taking neutral damage to Grass-type moves. Against the Victory Bell, we get lucky when it misses a Stun Spore, and then we immediately get a flinch from Bite before taking it out with Dragon Rage. The Tangela hits us with Poison Powder before Yellow takes it out, and Erica sends out the Vileplume. Dragon Rage does a lot of damage, and although Vileplume using Giga Drain gives it some health back, Yellow is able to hold on until the edge of death in a truly inspiring show of strength, and secures us the Rainbow Badge. Having beaten Erica, we allow Yellow to retire to the box, level up our party members to provide some extra insurance, and move forward. Our next step is the Rocket Hideout, which in a mono-water Nuzlocke is trivial, given Giovanni's reliance on ground types. And before long, we've earned our first victory over the Rocket Boss and taken the Sylph Scope. Relying on Sand Attack from Thames, we also make it through the Pokemon Tower rival fight, make our way to its upper levels, beat the Rocket Grunts, and rescue Mr. Fuji, who gives us the Pokeflute. Our first step after getting the flute is to clear the Snorlax on Route 12 and pick up the Super Rod, which opens up an entirely new world of encounters for us. First, we pick up Lena the Horsea on Route 12, and then head west to Route 6 to grab Rio the Poliwag. We then clear out the Snorlax west of Celadon as well, and are finally able to ride down the cycling road and head for Fuchsia City, where we're able to enter the Safari Zone, grab a few items, receive the Surf HM, and add Danube the Goldeen to the team. After getting strength back in Fuchsia, we backtrack to Pallet Town, where we catch Colorado the Shelder, who immediately enters our team rotation. Figuring that this is probably sufficient for encounters at the moment, I load the Surf HM onto various members of the team, make a quick run to Celadon City to evolve Rio and Colorado with Water Stones, and further modify a few movesets. Then, we head into Fuchsia Gym to fight Koga. Missy handles the first coughing with Surf, and once the Muck comes in, we set up a tract on it to hopefully prevent it from using Minimize. He still gets one off, and although our next two Surfs hit, Koga heals Muck once its health is low. We hit a critical Surf and get an immobilization turn, but Koga heals again, and we have to roll the dice once more. Thankfully, Muck just can't get enough of our big turtley body, and we hit another Surf. Although we're poisoned by sludge, the Pecha Berry heals us, and we take the Muck out. Surf deals with his second coughing the same as the first, and Koga brings in the Wheezing, who we run a tract on before hitting it with a Surf. After a good immobilization turn, we take the Wheezing out with the second Surf, and earn the Soul Badge. After we defeat Koga, we return north and enter Saffron City, where we run through Sylphco in order to face our rival Bank and his team again, who have now taken on a much scarier form. We start the fight off with Thames because he has Aurora Beam, and use it to take the Pidgeot out with no issues. He predictably sends out the Venusaur next, and we set up Sand Attack. Thames is able to tank the Razor Leaf well, and we get another Evasiveness drop. But unfortunately, Venusaur is still able to hit Sleep Powder. I take a risky play here and switch to Colorado, and it pays off when Venusaur misses Razor Leaf. Unfortunately, he's faster, and we take massive damage to the next one before hitting our Aurora Beam. We go for Protect just to run out PP, before switching over to Danube. Venusaur misses another Razor Leaf, and we go for Horn Attack, but unfortunately we fall asleep before we're able to hit it. We try to get a hit in while the Venusaur continues to miss Razor Leafs, before we have to decide to sack Danube and get a clean switch into Rio. We go for Strength, which looks like it could kill in 2, but the Venusaur's second Razor Leaf takes us out before we can do it. We bring out Misty and go for a Bite, hoping it'll do the job, but it doesn't do it. But critically we get the Flinch, which allows the second Bite to finish the job. Next, Banks' second scary Pokemon Gyarados comes out, and we use a Tract to try to keep it at bay. Our only good move is Twister, which doesn't do much, and so in a last-ditch effort we go for a Smokescreen to lower his accuracy. Poison Point gets the poison, and in one brilliant last stand, Lena gets a second Smokescreen. We bring out Colorado again, so that he can use Protect and stall out the poison on Gyarados. And although we try to get the second one, it's no good, and Colorado goes down. We then bring in Missy, who tries to finish the job with Bite. It doesn't do it, but luckily the Gyarados misses its own Bite, and then goes down to Lena's revenge. We take out the Growlithe with one Surf from Missy, and then we decide that we just have to risk keeping her in on the Alakazam. Luckily, he goes for 2 Future Sights, which gives us just enough time to finish the fight with Bite. This rival fight took a lot out of us, and we're left with only Missy and Thames to carry the team. But truthfully, I'm just happy to have made it through. We have plenty of backup encounters left, and we actually get our first one a few steps south, where we accept Darling the Lapras from this man in the Sylphco building. Before fighting Giovanni in the President's office, we decide to refill our party slots, picking up Indus the Tentacool on Route 10, Peace the Psyduck on Route 25, Yukon the Seal in the Seafoam Islands, and Neeper the Poliwhirl in Viridian City. Astute viewers will notice here that I'm stupid, and I misspelled Neeper. Sorry, Europe? After leveling everyone up, we once again have a full team of 6, and are ready to take out Giovanni. Compared to the true boss of this building, Bank, he once again is unable to really do anything to our troop of water types, and we take him out quickly, being gifted the Master Ball by the Sylphco president as a reward. Our immediate next step is to face off against Sabrina, so that we can finally enter the endgame. We decide to start with Peace, who combines Strength and Speed, 2 essential qualities for triumphing over Sabrina's psychic types. Peace takes out her Kadabra and Mr. Mime with Strength, but after taking a confusion from the Venomoth, we switch into Darling, who is able to finish it off with Ice Beam. Darling is also bulky enough to tank the Alakazam's Psychic, before he ends it all with Strength and secures us the Marsh Badge. Once Sabrina's done, we surf down to Cinnabar Island, where we grab the Blizzard TM and the secret key from the mansion. We also head into the lab and bring Fink the Ammonite back from the dead, finally making good on our encounter for Mount Moon. With our team of water types rounded out and leveled up, we enter the Cinnabar Gym, where our next grand challenger Blaine awaits. Oh, did we already beat him? Well, I guess next we'll make our way up to Viridian City and start prepping for Giovanni. What's that? Oh, we beat him too? Huh. Okay then. After running a clinic on how to take down a gym leader, we finish up the Kanto Gym Challenge, and head over to Route 22 to fight our rival one more time before the Elite Four. With Thames' ability to tank hits from Venusaur, this one is surprisingly easy, and we head toward the Indigo Plateau, navigating through Victory Road until we reach our destination. In preparation for this final challenge, we add Fink to the team, level up, change movesets, and finally settle on this team for the Elite Four. Darling the Lapras, an incredibly strong Pokemon with good bulk, who will act as a pivot and also as a potential centerpiece against Lance. Thames the Vaporeon. His high HP will allow him to take hits while also dealing versatilely with the enemy. Fink the Amistar, a time-hopping Gyarados specialist, who will give us an edge against our rival Bank. Peace the Golduck, a fast and strong attacker, who in many ways will be leading the charge against the Elite Four. Misty the Blastoise, our all-arounder and the core of the team. And finally, Niper the Misspelled. A strong fighter with surprising versatility, she'll be sure to boost our chances of success. This is the team, and with it, we go in. Against Lorelei, we start with Niper to take advantage of Stab on Brick Break, and quickly take out the Dugong with it. Lorelei brings in her Slowbro next, and we hit it with some strengths, until the Slowbro retaliates with a Yawn that forces us to switch into Missy. Missy gets hit with a Yawn too, and after going for a bite that results in a flinch, she uses her Lumberry to wake up, and we go for another bite. Unfortunately, Lorelei chooses to heal here, and though we're able to get her back down into the red with a few more bites, Missy is yawned to sleep again, and we switch into Fink, who finishes it with an Ancient Power. When Lorelei sends in her Cloyster, we switch over to Peace, waiting out our enemy's Protect turns and testing out Brick Break and Surf, both of which do minimal damage, before ending things with Confusion, its neutral special damage proving to be the best option. Lorelei moves into Jinx, and we hit a critical Strength, which procs a full restore and allows us to take her down with 2 more strengths from Peace. Finally, Lorelei sends in her ringer, Lapras, but Peace's relatively high attack and surprising bulk allow her to tank multiple body slams, before ultimately snapping out of Confusion and taking the Lapras out to end our Lorelei fight. With Lorelei finished, we have to prepare to fight Bruno next. Although we specifically elected to play without using the best Psychic users, given that Bruno ain't I'm not particularly worried, so we go in with minimal changes. We start off the fight with Thames due to his high HP, taking Bruno's first Onix out in one hit. His Hitmonchan comes in next and lives the first Surf, but after missing a YOLO Sky Uppercut, we're able to take it out without suffering any damage. Thames is faster than the Hitmonlee, who comes out next, and after tanking a terrifying crit Mega Kick, is able to feint one of Bruno's heavier hitters as well. We next decide to risk Thames against the Machamp as well, hitting a Surf, but after he uses Scary Face, we decide to play it safe, switching into Niper and hitting it with Hypnosis. We try our best to take the Machamp out with Niper, but after a full restore from Bruno, we don't have much choice but to switch over to Missy. She tanks a Cross Chop and hits a Surf, and after Bruno full restores the Machamp once more, the Lucky Lady hits a crit Surf that sets us up perfectly to take his Machamp out. Missy is looking a little worse for wear, and so rather than risk the embarrassing loss to an Onix, we switch over to Peace, tank an Earthquake, and then end the Bruno fight with a final Surf. This result isn't surprising, given the circumstances, but you can't say the boy didn't try his best. Nice attempt, Bruno. Next up is Agatha, who is one of the scarier Elite Four members for this run, given we don't really have anything that's exceptionally strong against her. But even so, our preparation is limited. Realistically, our team is about as good as it's going to get, and with that knowledge, we head in to try our luck. We start with Thames here as well, so that we can go for Attract to try and stop her from successfully setting up too many double teams. The Gengar still gets one off, but after our Surf does massive damage, Agatha sets us up for a 2-turn KO on Gengar, but we miss it. Luckily, Gengar is in love with us, and we're able to take it out without suffering too much damage. Agatha brings in her Golbat next, and annoyingly hits us with a Confuse Ray to start. Aurora Beam does good damage, but the Golbat does its best to take us down with a crit Air Cutter, followed by a turn of self-damage from Confusion. Thankfully, we snap out on our next turn, and are able to take the Golbat out with a second Aurora Beam. Agatha then sends in her Arbok, and we have to make a switch ourselves, bringing in Fink. He takes minimal damage to Sludge Bomb, but he does get poisoned. We're lucky to then hit a crit Ancient Power and get even luckier when the Arbok misses Iron Tail. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys here, I totally forgot it had that. After this, a Surf is enough to take the Arbok out. Agatha brings out the Haunter next, and we use this as a chance to switch into Peace. Haunter damages itself with Curse, and although it's able to do a good amount of damage to Peace, this also sets us up perfectly to take the Haunter out with Surf. As Agatha brings out her second Gengar, we decide not to risk Peace, and switch over to Darling instead. The Gengar hits a Hypnosis before trapping us in a Nightmare, but we're able to get an early Wake Up to confuse the Gengar, tanking a Sludge Bomb and hitting our own Surf. The Gengar is still able to hit through Confusion though, and puts us to sleep, at which point we switch over to Missy. Missy gets hit with Hypnosis again, and though it's a bit of a risk, we decide to keep her out and go for a Surf, which barely doesn't faint the Gengar. It does, however, lead Agatha to heal, which gives us a chance to land another Surf that gets Gengar below half health. We unfortunately fall asleep again, the Gengar setting up a Nightmare, but we risk it one more time, getting our second early Wake Up and taking the Gengar out. As always, Agatha was a bit of a pain, but I'm happy with our performance there. We still have a full team, which is a comforting reality when our last two fights are some of the hardest in the game. At least, that's usually the case, but realistically, Lance isn't so scary here. We use the 2 TMs that I've allowed myself to purchase from the game corner to give Thames and Peace Ice Beam. We also teach Fink Blizzard as a backup option, which should be plenty to get us through this. We send Fink out first to do what he was reborn for, handle Gyarados, and get a nice crit Ancient Power to start it off. Gyarados hits a Dragon Rage, and Lance heals, so we go for Ancient Power again, getting another crit just to make a statement. After tanking one more Dragon Rage, we take Gyarados out with Fink. Lance brings out his first Dragonair, who after paralyzing us dodges our first Blizzard, which is enough to push me to switch over to Thames. Our first Ice Beam with Thames takes out the safeguarding Dragonair, and Lance, unable to put 2 and 2 together, sends out the second one, which is knocked out in the same way. He brings out his Dragonite next, who is impressively able to tank an Ice Beam from us, and after we tank a Wing Attack, he goes for the full restore. But this doesn't really matter, as it turns out the KO is a damage range, which we're able to hit on the next attempt. For his final fighter, he brings out his Aerodactyl, who hits us with an Ancient Power that, while strong, isn't quite enough, and we take the Aerodactyl out in one hit as retribution. With this, we've now triumphed over the primary players of Kanto's Elite Four, but we're not done yet. One more challenger waits for us in the Champion's Chamber. Bank, our eternal rival, who has sought at every opportunity to halt the flow of our advance. After what he did to us in Attempt 1, it's personal this time. We won't fail again. We add a few coverage moves to the team, restore their PP, equip them with some berries and other items, and then we go in. The strategy hasn't failed us yet, so we start with Thames against Banks' Pidgeot. Pidgeot hits an Aerial Ace, and we go for Ice Beam, which is nearly enough to take it out, though not quite. After Banks heals up, we go for another one, and although we have to tank another Aerial Ace to do it, we take the Pidgeot out. As always, Banks sends in Venusaur next. We hit it with an Ice Beam, which does great damage, while Venusaur wastes a turn trying to set up a Solar Beam. Even with its Citrus Berry healing some HP, this gives us a golden opportunity to take out our old enemy, while also teaching Bank the valuable lesson that bigger doesn't always mean better. He brings in his Alakazam next, and we utilize Thames' Bulk and his Citrus Berry to full effect, tanking 2 Psychics while we stack up Evasiveness drops with Sand Attack. As we switch into Peace, Alakazam sets up a Future Sight, and Banks seems to like the idea so much that he keeps trying Future Sight while we chip away at his health with Strength. Peace is able to tank the only successful Future Sight of the bunch, and after the rival heals up, we return to Strengthing while the Alakazam goes right back to the Future Sight. Before our last hit, Banks seems to wise up and goes for a Psychic, but it's already too late, and after tanking it, Peace takes the Alakazam out with 1 more Strength. Banks brings in his Rhydon next, and we switch over to Missy, who dodges a Rock Tomb, tanks the Alakazam's ill-advised Future Sight, and then ends the Rhydon with a swift critical Surf to the face. Banks then sends in his Gyarados, which is really the only member of his team left that can scare us, and though we initially try to use Attract on it, the Gyarados tells us to be gone to force a switch out. We go into Fink, our Gyarados specialist, and tank 2 more Thrashes from the Gyarados before hitting it with Ancient Power. The Gyarados confuses itself in Fatigue, but lucks out anyway and hits a Hydro Pump. Although Fink is wanting for health, I know that another Ancient Power will be enough to finish the Gyarados off, and so we go for it. Unfortunately, the Gyarados is about as lucky as Misty, and hits its second Hydro Pump through Confusion in a row, taking Fink out and sending the Amistar species back into extinction. Although it's not fun to miss out on the chance for a perfect Elite Four, I can't really be upset at that kind of chance hit. We bring out Darling next, who takes Thrash like a champ before ending Gyarados with its own strength. Bank then brings in his final Pokemon Arcanine, and out of fear of the Flamethrower, we switch over to Niper, who doesn't even flinch. After tanking a further Extreme Speed, Niper hits a Surf, endures another Extreme Speed, and then sends the water down on Arcanine in a final deluge strong enough to wash away the bank completely. And that's it. Now that we've reached the end of the canal, actually no, we're done with the monologue, so I'm gonna stop using water puns for my benefit and yours. Now that we've reached the end of the road, I want to thank you for watching my hardcore water-type monologue of Pokemon Fire Red. These runs are a lot of fun for us to play, and finishing a relatively easy run like this feels like good preparation for when we're going to start attempting some of the harder challenge runs out there. I hope you've enjoyed coming along for the journey, and if you did, I would encourage you to like the video. We'd really appreciate it. If you want to see other challenge runs, discussions, rankings, and more, we would also love to have you among our subscribers, so why not give it a go? I'll be back with another run soon, and keep an eye out for some of the runs that Mike has finished as well. We appreciate any and all support that you can give. I hope you have a great day, thank you for watching, and as always, stay phenomenal.